Gaza Hospital. What video, pictures, and other evidence tell us about al-ahli hospital blast? A deadly blast at the crowded al-ahli hospital in Gaza City is feared to have killed hundreds of people. The Hamas-controlled Palestinian authorities in Gaza immediately blamed Israel, claiming it was a deliberate airstrike. Israel has denied involvement. Amid the claim and counterclaim, getting to the truth is harder than ever. BBC Verify is trying to unravel what is and isn't known looking at video footage, still imagery, and other evidence, including eyewitness accounts. In addition, a BBC journalist has been to the blast site, where there is limited access. New information is emerging all the time, so we will continue to investigate and report our findings as we learn more and talk to experts about the evidence. It is also important to note that as well as the physical fighting, this conflict is playing out as an information war. This is not the first time authorities in Israel and Gaza have given completely different accounts of an explosion. We are also looking at their various claims and statements. The blast. The explosion at the hospital happened at around 19:00 local time, 16:00 GMT on Tuesday. A 20-second video which circulated on social media purporting to show the blast was the first significant piece of visual evidence to emerge of the incident. In it, you can hear the whistling sound of an incoming projectile, followed by an explosion and a huge fire. Live footage from the Al Jazeera media network aired at 18:59 local time showed a bright light rising in the skies above Gaza. It flashes twice before drastically changing direction, and it then explodes. An explosion is then seen on the ground far away, followed by a much larger explosion closer to the camera, which the BBC has geolocated. Some commentators have suggested it is from a rocket which appears to explode or disintegrate. Other footage, which surfaced on social media channels, showed what appears to be the same blast from different angles and distances. We contacted 20 think tanks, universities, and companies with weapons expertise. 9 of them are yet to respond. 5 would not comment. But we spoke to experts at the remaining 6. We asked whether the available evidence, including the size of the explosion and the sounds heard beforehand, could be used to determine the cause of the hospital blast. So far, the findings are inconclusive. 3 experts we spoke to say it is not consistent with what you would expect from a typical Israeli airstrike with a large munition. J. Andres Gannon, an assistant professor at Vanderbilt University, in the U.S. says the ground explosions appeared to be small, meaning that the heat generated from the impact may have been caused by leftover rocket fuel rather than an explosion from a warhead. Justin Bronk, senior research fellow at the UK-based Royal United Services Institute, agrees. While it is difficult to be sure at such an early stage, he says, the evidence looks like the explosion was caused by a failed rocket section hitting the car park and causing a fuel and propellant fire. Mr. Gannon says it is not possible to determine whether the projectile struck its intended target from the footage he has seen. He adds that the flashes in the sky likely indicate the projectile was a rocket with an engine that overheated and stopped working. Valeria Scudo, lead Middle East analyst at Sibylline, a risk assessment company, notes that Israel has the capacity to carry out other forms of airstrike by drone, where they might use Hellfire missiles. These missiles generate a significant amount of heat but would not necessarily leave a large crater. But she says uncorroborated footage shows a pattern of fires at the hospital site that was not consistent with this explanation. Visual evidence from the blast site. The BBC was able to match details of buildings and the layout of the al-ahli hospital site with publicly available satellite imagery to establish the hospital was the scene of the blast. Based on available evidence, it appears the explosion happened in a courtyard, which is part of the hospital site. Images of the ground after the blast do not show significant damage to surrounding hospital buildings. What the images do show are scorch marks and burnt-out cars. The hospital is owned and run by the Anglican Church. Canon Richard Sewell, the dean of St. George's College in Jerusalem, told the BBC that about 1,000 displaced people were sheltering in the courtyard when it was hit, and about 600 patients and staff were inside the building.